Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's the storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay awake. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay, here we go. Hello, Barb Nauman. Hello, She-Fly. Hello, Susan Hicks. Hello, Erin Ever After, Psych and Crime, Jennifer Ray, Debbie Martin. Everybody's here. Almost everybody. Bling is the new black. Hello, hello, hello. Dark Side. Hello. Wow, what a devastating day in court. Another one. I'm just going to say it like I saw it. Terrible day for Karen Read in court. So if you've been following what I've been saying, you know, this is not a prediction. You cannot predict which way. I don't know who's on the jury. I don't know what they're seeing. I do not know if they're being touched by the Innocence Fraud campaign. But if this is a fair-minded jury, untouched by outside influence, Karen Read is in trouble. And this is the second day in a row Karen Read has left the court without saying a single word. And of course, the clips of Karen Read were so devastating. Also, the troopers that arrived on the scene, again, prove what I've been saying all along, that there was no time to plant the evidence. First of all, it was at ground level. Some of this pieces of Karen Read smashed to smithereens taillight that were found at, ground level under a lot of snow. I mean, what did they think, that Proctor, the enemy of all enemies, somehow got in and undetected upheavaled a lot of snow and planted stuff? I mean, so, but more than that, more than just the improbability of it, of the conspiracy theory that the Innocence Fraud narrative is put out, is that the car was already on its way at the Sally part when the CERT team arrived. So there's no access to the car to plant taillight pieces. And the Free Karen readers would say, well, we're not telling you how it was done. We're not telling you who did it, using all the evidence and giving you a thorough alternative theory that makes sense from beginning to end. We don't have to. We're not detectives. What? We don't have to tell you who did it and how they did it. It doesn't have to be a probable theory. Just has to be put in a little doubt into the minds of the mostly very disturbed and deranged Karen Read followers, supporters. There are good people in there that have gotten totally duped. Let us not forget them and let us not dehumanize them. But there are an awful lot of very disturbed people with criminal records, driven drunk themselves, have issues with the police, want to see a criminal get away with something. They're all in it and all in it to win it for Karen, for psychopath murderer Karen Read. So that was very incriminating. The testimony from the trooper. We also heard from a meteorologist today. Talk about the conditions. So Karen Read can't say it was just a little light flurries. And obviously, at the time she hit him, it was just starting to snow. From 1 to 3, they talk about it only accumulating 3 inches. Alessi maybe made one salient point in his cross. But we saw the conditions by the time Jennifer McCabe and Karen Read were there on the scene. So that was just a couple of hours. But also what was more damning, the most damning, I think what stole the show and what I want to talk about today mostly is Karen Read's own calls. We heard them last time, but not so clearly. And there you can clearly hear one. And this is, we thought we heard this last time. We were going, did she say that? Did she say, John, is that you? We thought we heard it. I don't know what they did with technology, souped it up, made it, clarified it, or I don't know. But boy, did we hear it loud and clear. Karen Read saying at 5:23, John, is that you? Which would mean, was she looking out her window? Was she visiting the body? This has always been the rumor. Is it going to be worked out, this trial, or will this trial end and will we not know? Seems like if we have the car data with the GPS data, should tell us where she went. She lies so much, it's hard to tell. Did she just make that up? Did she say that off of the top of her head to make it look like she was really looking for him? Like, John, is that you? And she's, as Hank Brennan so eloquently said in this trial, there's 2 parts of this crime. There is the crime and then there's the cover-up. So a lot of things Karen Read did were part of the cover-up. Love tapping, meaning reversing her car when she didn't need to get out of the driveway into John O'Keefe's car and just tapping it, turning the wheel into his car. Just, I call it the love tap. At 5:07 a.m. in the morning. It's because she needed another story as to how she broke the taillight. So then there are these calls where she's supposed to be looking for him. So did she say that to make it look like she was looking for him? Or she knows where he is. She knows where he is and where he isn't. She's not confused. So if I had to guess, I would say it's part of the cover-up. Whether she visited the body or John O'Keefe's body or not, sorry to call it the body, John O'Keefe's body or not, remains to be seen before she went to Jennifer McCabe's. Hold on one second. So if you missed the love tap, what I'm talking about is that at 5:07, in front of the Ring camera, she backed out of the driveway, not the garage, the driveway, and just tapped into John O'Keefe's car with her car to give an alternative, plausible story, but it's not plausible. Even her own witnesses say that it wouldn't have broken the taillight that way, that kind of impact. So it was a valiant effort on Karen Reed's part to cover up her murder of John O'Keefe, but it fooled a lot of people for a long time. Now what's left is just these new rabid free Karen readers who are jumping on for either profit or community or just because they've been duped. Hard to know. And maybe a few new ones and the really rabid old ones. I think there's a lot of people who've silently backed out or come to this side. That's what I think is going on. So we're going to look at Karen Reed's own phone calls to John O'Keefe, her statements, also more clips of Karen Reed narrating her murder trial. It is damning. So it's one thing for the state to release it. It's another thing, release evidence, and it's another thing for Karen Reed to hear it coming out of Karen Reed's own mouth. Thanks, Jenny. Breezy Coyote says, at 10:59 a.m., they are accidentally panned the camera over the jury. So that call for a retrial? I don't think so. I think they'll probably just cut it out. Did you see it at 10:59? Is it still up there on the internet? I would think that's all been edited out by now. I didn't see it. Did my audience see it? I mean, they can try, but I would doubt that they're going to go through this all again. I didn't hear that, but I didn't see it or hear it, but absolutely could have happened. It might have been a very quick blip. And I hope it doesn't encourage anyone to get harassed, or it's very scary in this case with the jury. So let's look at Karen Reed's own statements first in these videos that came out first. Where she's talking about clipping him and he didn't look mortally wounded. I played this before. Let's watch it again.
I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in his drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
Let's just talk about that statement. It's so perfect, Karen Reed, who can never take any responsibility for her actions, to say in his drunkenness, it was his fault that he passed out because he was so drunk. Not me. He was so drunk and so cruel to clip him and leave him there to die in a blizzard. It could in his drunkenness, could he have passed out? So this is where Alan Jackson, I wanted to stop it here for a second reason, said Alan Jackson says, oh no, the Commonwealth, how dare they misrepresent this statement, the context. And this is what Karen Reed's been talking about outside of court, is that these clips don't have context. This is a common innocence fraud tactic to say the context is missing. I'd ask you to ask yourself what context would make any of these statements better. So here he says, oh no, she was talking about the morning when she brought Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts back to the scene to have an audience and also to mix it all up. I really want everyone in my audience to think about, why did Karen Reed have to involve Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts? And the conclusion I've come to, you can please share with me your thoughts on the matter, is that she needed an alibi. She needed more personalities, and all of our character makeups and our personalities have flaws and trauma and things that can easily, you can easily point to and exploit. She needed more characters. She needed to mix it all up. Because otherwise, she calls 911 and they analyze those 911 calls. It can be very incriminating. If you're calling 911 and you're basically reporting a crime and you're not asking for help for the victim. See Michael Peterson's 911 call for more on that. So she made Jen McCabe call 911. But she also had an audience so she could pretend to be distraught. And she did the big reveal. She just found him. She didn't know where he was. And it doesn't help that Carrie Roberts is out there giving interviews saying, oh, well, I know she was upset because she didn't know where he was. Of course. Have they not figured out that Karen Reed knew all along where he was? Have they not figured out that they've been duped? All right. So here's Alan Jackson saying, oh, no, he's talking about the next morning when Carrie Roberts and Jennifer McCabe, she took them back to the scene of the crime so she could perform for them and pretend to be upset and hysterical and out of her mind crazy. Strangely, she did it well enough that she got herself sectioned so she didn't have to talk to police. What a coinky dink. Actually, her father got her sectioned. He's like her partner in crime. Got her sectioned. But her own behavior added. Oh, is this my period blood? No, that's John's blood. She's asking questions like that. She's screaming, Carrie, Jen. And everything that Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts testified to is in these tapes. Not everything, but it's very consistent with what they testified to, her behavior. And you can hear her go, Jen, Carrie, Jen, Carrie. I mean, she did that all the way over in between with her head in between the seats, all the way over to 34 Fairview. And then she's doing at the scene. She's running around. She's doing everything but helping John. She's being such an issue and such a distraction to the rescue efforts that they have to basically put her in a police car, and then she's opening and closing the door of the police car. All right. So this is clearly not the next morning. And we know this is an excellent follow-up question. And that would be when you dropped him off that he didn't look mortally wounded. So let's go back to the beginning because we might have lost the plot.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
And this would have been the moment you dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to have been. I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
And this would have been the moment you dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to have been.
Okay, so there is that clip, and then we heard a new clip we hadn't heard from before. Let me go back. I love also that she also blames the cold. It's not just his drunkenness; it's also the cold.
Thank you. The Commonwealth moves into evidence and asks to play clip 18.
Okay.
I mean, I can just see Karen Reed, if she gets convicted for this crime, being the cold should be sitting right where I'm sitting right now. She doesn't blame Jennifer McCabe and Brian Albert and all the usual cast of characters. Innocent people.
So when John got out of the car at Brian Albert's house, he took my full vodka soda, which is sitting in the cup holder.
You will
The Common,
that.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness.
One more, please, Your Honor. The Commonwealth moves into evidence and seeks to play clip number 17, please.
Okay.
I gave an interview with ABC with Matt Gutman. I think this was whom I gave the interview to, and I said, he asked, why was I saying, could I hit him? Did I hit him? And I said, yeah, my first thought was, I've been out late, I've been drinking, and he's in the general vicinity of where I last saw him. I mean, they talk about the left side of the property and the right as if it's, Hammersmith Farms. It's a postage stamp. It's 50 feet. So he's in the front yard to the left of the front door, and no one's coming out of the house. Jen's telling me nobody's seen him. So I'm thinking, Jesus, was I starting to pull away and I ran over his foot? Like, he's roughly where I left him. So yeah, when I found him, I was thinking, did I clip him somehow?
Okay, very damning. I mean, the only thing that she wonders, she doesn't wonder if a stranger came along and hit him in the back of the head. She doesn't wonder something else. It's not a postage stamp, right, Eva? It's not a postage stamp. She's only worried about him being run over by a plow, only being hit by some kind of vehicle. Hit by a plow, hit by her, clipped by her, hit by her. And it's her glass, which is always what I said. And when it's always been my theory on the case that John O'Keefe was carrying her glass, cocktail glass, because he was drinking beers. She took it with her like she did. It was her habit to take her glass with her from bar to bar, from bar to, I mean, it's real. She didn't want to part with her glass of alcohol, and he's carrying it for you. Are you going to come in? I mean, this is how I see this happening. They're fighting. He decides to end it. And he's like, are you coming in or not? And she's like, you know what? No. That's how I imagine it, with my own dialogue, not it's totally invented. But when I said that, the Free Karen readers jumped all over me. How do you know it's her glass? Because it's logical. It's logical. It makes sense to me that would be her glass that he's carrying into the party. So those were all very damning way to start the day, but it didn't get really good. Didn't get really good until, I mean, we heard from Trooper Garino again, playing and reading her messages. Let's take a look at that footage from today, shall we?
With the court's permission, I would ask that Trooper Greeno take us through the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is it okay to begin? Okay.
Please.
So these are the phone calls on the 29th. So at 12:35 a.m., the defendant calls John. That phone call is not answered. 12:34:09 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:34:38 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:35:09 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. 12:35:35, the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:36:09 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered.
Trooper Greeno, let me stop you there for a second.
Mhm.
Did you look into any?
I mean, this is all inter-partner violence we're looking at here. And this is what I've been saying all along. And I'm still hearing stuff. I'm breezing by content made by other creators, and they're having experts on saying things like, maybe we'll never know what happened to John O'Keefe. Really? Really? It's a mystery. Have we devolved? Have we gone into such idiocracy that we can't figure out what happened to John O'Keefe that night? I mean, maybe we'll never know. Maybe he slipped and fell. Maybe, often the truth is just in the middle. Who are these murder apologists? I want nothing to do with them. I mean, we can't figure it out. We can't figure out, the couple were fighting. John O'Keefe asked Karen Reed to leave his home 2 days before. She wouldn't leave. Add alcohol into the mix, although I think it's more minor. I think Karen's psychopathy is much more high up on the list of things that made this more likely to happen. There are rumors that she held a knife to one of her boyfriend's necks, and she lit her other ex-boyfriend's car on fire. You don't leave Karen Reed. Karen Reed, out of her own mouth, says it's a mistake to think that this wasn't planned. The aim was to teach John a lesson at the minimum. So they're fighting. He's had enough. He says, I'm not into fighting on the text messages. She's hounding him all day, trying to gain absolute control over him. And he's just saying, please stop calling me. Enough. You're suffocating me. And she doesn't respect his boundaries, which is certainly a sign of an abuser. They go out trying to make peace, putting on a good face for the public, and they park in a sort of darker area, hoping that no one saw them so they can fight before they get out to this get together. And he says, enough. I've had enough of this. You coming in or not, but this is it. And she's like, no, I'm not coming in, and reverses into him. I mean, is this a mystery? Can people not get this? Maybe he slipped and fell. Really? Slipped and fell. And somehow he slipped and fell right into Karen Reed's taillight, and she didn't know, or she didn't get help. She knew right where to get him the next morning. Really? What is wrong with people? These are supposed to be PhD people? Really? I'm just done. I'm done with these crowd-pleasing murder apologists and true crime. Enough with them.
Internet connection between the defendant's phone and the router and the internet connection at Meadows Ave, John O'Keefe's home that night.
Yes, at 12:36:39 a.m., the defendant's phone auto connects to the Wi-Fi PatsFam123.
Are you familiar with the router at Mr. O'Keefe's home?
I have not done a look at it in person, but that's the known network that's listed under it. There's two, PatsFam123 and O'Keefe 74.
Did you learn the range that a connection must be in order to connect to his router?
Yes, so depending on the router, it's either a 2.4 gigahertz or a 5 gigahertz radio band, or signal band, I should say. Depending on which one it's connecting to, which band, it's either 150-foot indoor range or up to 300 feet outdoor. So again, when you pull into your home, sometimes you can still be connected to your home Wi-Fi in the driveway.
And again, can you give us the time of the connection between the defendant's phone and Mr. O'Keefe's router at Meadows Ave that night?
Yes, 12:36:39 a.m.
Please continue.
At 12:36:40 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 12:30.
Right, exact text message. Thank you for putting it up. Let me put it up again. Did I just miss it? Oh my God. Right. Thank you, Roz. John to Karen. OMG. Stop calling. Did that stop Karen Reed from calling him? No. Does she care about other people's feelings? It's all about Karen Reed all the time. If you haven't learned that, if the free Karen readers haven't learned that, I don't know. I can't help him. I can't help you. I can't help you there. It is 100% about Karen Reed and getting Karen Reed off, and she will use and abuse anyone and discard them in her quest to get away with murder. Not take any responsibility for her actions. She will use, abuse, and discard you.
37:08 a.m. The defendant calls John, and voicemail number 1 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman, would you kindly play the voicemail for 12:37:08?
At 12:38:26 a.m. The defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:39:03.
Carl has an open invitation to come on here any day of the week and discuss the evidence with me. Cat in the Hat says, wonder how Carl will spin. This is Carl Steinbeck. He's just apparently always been a raging innocence fraud grifter. And even I, with all my experience, didn't call because he was only covered one case. And somehow he takes a popular position on every case. Wonder how Carl will spin today's clips and the car data next. Let's just see how deluded he is after today. I think there's no ends to his. It's not deluded to his gaslighting his audience. He knows the score. He wants money. He's grifting for money and grifting for views. This is not the way to get views, guys. This is not the way to make a living. You know, taking this side of the fence, because it's not very exciting. The evidence doesn't change. You can't go off in things that we imagine, areas that we imagine, that the way the other side can, using little bits and pieces. The evidence doesn't change and tells the same story every time. And mainly people who think she's guilty go, yeah, oh, you're covering that case? The woman who reversed into her police officer boyfriend and left him to die in a blizzard? Oh, you're covering that? Yeah, she's guilty as hell. They're not interested. There's only a select few people like us who will come back thinking she's guilty. Like, there's no mystery. There's nothing more to find out. For the free Karen readers, they're waiting for the real killers to get caught any minute. Any minute it could happen. I think they're still waiting for the feds coming for these people. Even long after it's been announced that the federal investigation is over. They're like someone who won't quit. They're like Karen Reed with John O'Keefe. The relationship is over and she can't. I guess she did accept it by running into him, but she's going to stay in the house. She's going to try to hold on to it, try to control him before punishing him for leaving her.
3 a.m. The defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:39:37 a.m. The defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:43 a.m. The defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 12:41:35 a.m., the defendant calls John. Voicemail number 2 is left. Some beeping noises, appears to be a butt dial or accidental call.
Ms. Gilman, could you play the voice message at 12:41:35?
Did you hear her? This is her getting into John O'Keefe's house like a burglar breaking into his house. where she's not wanted or invited. And she was invited with him earlier in the evening, but now that she's run him over, she's clearly not wanted or invited there. And you can hear her. She's not taking off her shoes. Wonder if any of the jurors are going to pick up on that detail. It's for me, it was such an important detail in the first trial. Did it mean everything? Is that why I concluded she was guilty? No. The totality of the evidence. But it was a key detail that Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe, when they all went to John O'Keefe's home to pretend to look for him. I don't know if it's hit Carrie Roberts yet that was all a ruse. Strangely, she didn't think, isn't it odd that Karen Reed didn't look for John O'Keefe in his own home? Maybe he just passed out somewhere. Unexpected that she didn't think. Maybe he's in the kids' room or, I don't know, couch, I don't know where, somewhere, armchair, anywhere. She didn't look anywhere in the home. So they had to go to his home to look for him. So when they went to his home, Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe, because he was a neat freak, and he had a rule that you take off your shoes before you get in his home. Karen Reed ran ahead, not taking off her shoes. While Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe wrestled with their boots, taking off their boots. In here you can hear, she knew what she did. Why are we all pretending, even on this side? Yeah, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yeah, just take the middle path. Try to please everyone. Keep the donations coming in. Keep those clicks and views coming in, guys. Let's pretend we'll never know the truth, because here's another one I hate. We weren't there. Really? Are we going to suspend our opinion to things that we were just there for? I don't know. I wasn't there. World War II might have been great. I wasn't there. I don't know. Really? We can't get a bunch of information and have an opinion. We're only going to have opinions about things that we were there for. Really? Have we devolved so much in intelligence to that state?
The defendant then texts John O'Keefe at 12:55:31 a.m. on the 29th, "I'm going home." The defendant texts John O'Keefe, "See you later," at 12:55:50 a.m. on the 29th. At 12:58:19 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered.
Right. So the free Karen readers would go, why is she saying I hate you if she's trying to cover up a murder? She's doing both. It's not logical. Her emotional side needs to let out her hatred for John O'Keefe and scream, because the whole backing into him 24 miles an hour in reverse, rounding up with her foot, 75% on the gas pedal, around. It's 74.5% down on the gas pedal, with her infotainment system beeping and flashing at her, telling her she's going to hit something. She's turning her wheel into him right before her car has an event. That was all an expression of her hatred of John. And so she's got to let it all out. Let all her hatred out and cover up her crime. So she's doing both. It's not logical. Murder is not logical. It's not rational. It's not. Why did she do it? Because she wanted to. That's why. That's really what all these. There's obviously, when you look at the Adelson case, she wanted to have sole custody over the kids. Okay. But it's not logical or rational, or even to just murder your ex-husband or have him murdered. It's not logical or rational. can't really fully understand why these people do these things. It's not possible. I think it's just a waste of time to get in the mind of a killer. They're risk takers. They think they believe they can get away with it, and she may get away with it. May cost her, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be costing her any money. She seems to be making money on this trial, Karen Reed. That in mind, please hit the thumbs up while you're here, guys. Share this episode, subscribe to the channel.
12:58:47 a.m. The defendant calls John. It's not answered. 12:59:24 a.m. The defendant calls John. Voicemail number 3 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman.
John, I'm here with your fucking kids. Nobody knows what the fuck you are, you fucking pervert.
At 1 a.m. and 26 seconds, the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 1 a.m. 49 seconds, the defendant calls John. Voicemail number 4 is left. It's 1 second called, no sound.
Ms. Gilman.
That was it. The defendant texts John O'Keefe, your kids are cucking alone at 1:02 a.m. on the 29th. Defendant texts John O'Keefe, I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone. 1:04:14 a.m. on the 29th. At 1:10:17 a.m., the defendant calls John. Voicemail number 5 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman.
Yeah, it's 1 in the morning. I'm with your fucking niece and nephew. You fucking pervert. You're a fucking pervert.
That call, she does sound drunk. And Maestro made this graph. I didn't realize I could move this around, but so the orange line is the absorption drinking phase, the elimination phase. And this is assuming that she didn't drink before 9 o'clock, which we don't know. So her arrival at CF McCarthy's at 9. And you go vodka, 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 vodka. She goes up almost to the 0.3. And now in New York City, Pennsylvania, drinking level to be under the limit or to be over the limit is 0.08. So here she's at 0.3. At 34 Fairview, she would have been at 1227, 0.2470. And 911 call. Here she is at 0.488, 0.1488%. And then at the blood draw, that's if she didn't drink in, this is all assuming things that she didn't drink in between when she got to John O'Keefe's home and snuck in, or she didn't drink beforehand. But she's drinking very rapidly. Certainly, I thought that was very effective to have her explain why the drinks was such a weak pour, and she was pouring in shots because it was so weak. I don't know how that's going to play in front of a jury, but to my ear, it sounded like someone with an issue with alcohol. I drink maybe like once, twice a year. And last time I went out with my friend Nadia for drinks, and the drink was extremely, extremely weak. We both noticed it, not being drinkers, either one of them. And we didn't get shots. We didn't think, oh, let's get shots. Let's soup it up. We were like, At least I can go on with the rest of my day. Be a little bit more coherent, or rest of the night, more like.
At 1:10:44 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 1:12:18 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:12:46 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:13:13 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. Sorry. At 1:14:11 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:14:44 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. 1:16:10 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. 1:16:38 a.m.
Yeah, what proof do you have that John O'Keefe was an alcoholic? I haven't seen any proof.
The defendant calls John.
I mean, he's telling her in these text messages, you're jonesing to go have a drink, Karen. So drink. She's like, are you going out? Are you going out? There's people who drink too much. And then there's people who have a real issue with it. It's a difference.
Not answered. At 1:17:37 a.m., the defendant calls John. So when voicemail 6 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman?
John, I'm going home. I cannot babysit in these. I need to go home. You are fucking using me right now. You're fucking another girl. Kim's sleeping next to me. You're a fucking loser. Fuck yourself.
Here in these calls, she sounds a little drunk. No? Did she mean to hit him? It doesn't matter with second degree. It didn't matter if she intended to kill him. She did. And she didn't. There's all sorts of, when you back into someone, going 24 miles an hour in reverse, she purposely hit him. You move your wheel into him and your infotainment system is beeping and flashing. You have intent to cause serious bodily injury or death. And it does. Doesn't really matter. I don't know. I believe Karen Reed when she says the plan was to teach John a lesson. I think she planned to really hurt him physically. And she was obviously okay with it. She had to know if you're dating a guy who doesn't wear a coat for 2 years, you have to think more than once to yourself, well, could get really bad for him if he ever got caught out in, say, Massachusetts' 7th worst storm ever, like it was that night, a blizzard, conditions, it could be really bad for him. So my instinct is to say, yes, she knew it could kill him. Was she okay with someone finding him? Probably. But there's no guarantee of that. She knew she said it didn't look inviting. It was so, there weren't enough lights on for her to feel invited into the home. And John O'Keefe was just going into the home to see if it was okay for Princess Karen Reed to enter. I was like, how does a home look inviting? What was she, said this before, I'll say it again. Was she expecting balloons, a parade? But she knew it was quiet. She knew that if there are bad conditions on the road, your eyes are going to be on the road. And passengers, they just want to get home. It's late. She knew that she had to know that there was a good chance that no one would find John O'Keefe and he would freeze to death out there. She was okay with killing him. And the reason we know she's okay with it is she's okay with it now. Not once have we seen any real grief. We've seen performative hysteria to get herself sectioned. We've never seen any real grief, real remorse. She doesn't care that she killed him. In fact, I think she's proud of it. So I think she has this dilemma where she wants to brag to everyone and tell everyone what she did, but she also doesn't want to face any consequences for it. So here we have her 1 minute covering it up and the next minute confessing. And I think that's the Karen Reed dilemma. I think she wants to tell everyone about the ultimate expression of her power, what she did to John, how she told him, she fixed him. She shut him up. She's so powerful. She made him non-existent, off the planet. And I hope she gets away with it. She's a gambler. She's a risk taker. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, John, is that you? Please hit the thumbs up. Support the channel. This is all listener supported. I want to I have some people to thank. Hold on one second. I'll thank people to thank when I get back. But please buy me a coffee. Support me via Venmo. Links are in the description of this episode, or become a Patreon member and get access to info you won't get anywhere else. Lots of exclusive stuff on Patreon. I will see you in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard task warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy. Exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.
Did Julie Grant say that, JMS? I've been saying the same thing. I said, you better not come into New York courts, especially our federal courts. They would hand her behind. Julie Grant says most judges wouldn't put up with Karen's facial expressions and the turning around in court. The Nexium trial covered that case from the early hearings all the way through Keith Ranieri's trial to the sentencing hearings for all the different offenders, now convicts. That judge, Judge Garifas, kicked out someone in the gallery, a journalist, for giving a look. He put up with no nonsense at all. I wish we had a judge like Judge Garifas for this case. It's the worst judge for someone like Karen Reed. I mean, they've just been, her and her corrupt, dangerous lawyers have just been defrauding the court. They're lying to the court. And why not? Why not lie to the court? Why not cheat? Because the worst that'll happen to you for hiding discovery is you get a voir dire, lying to the jury, eliciting perjured testimony. You get a voir dire and you get a talking to. I want to thank Anna Quint, who just edited her brought up her membership on Patreon. I also want to thank Wesley Loves Octoberfest and Eileen. Welcome aboard. Thanks for becoming a Patreon member. Really appreciate it. I am streaming all through the day, and then I'm doing a show at night during the Karen Retrial, so I really appreciate your support. Heavy schedule. Let us go back into Karen Reed's own messages. I thought this was the wowzer of today. I don't know. How did you guys feel? I'm curious what you thought was the big jaw dropper.
At 1:18:38 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. At 4:38:14 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:38:49 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:39:39 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:40:05 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:42:05 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:42:54 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:45:10 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:04:27 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:21:28 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:21:58 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:23:26 a.m., the defendant calls John. Voicemail number 7 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman?
At 5:24:27 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:25:28 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:26:14 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:28:16 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:28:43 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:29:21 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:29:46 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:30:15 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:30:52 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:31:21 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 5:36:29 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 6:03:02 a.m., the defendant calls John, and voicemail number 8 is left with some voice and noise and background.
Ms. Gilman, could you play that, please?
Just 52 unanswered calls. But she can't call 911. She can call him 52 times, but never dial 911. She needs Jen McCabe to do that.
Yes, I need someone to report you. 34 beautiful Vietnam, your baby and top notice now. Yeah. Okay, I know. Where's the blanket? I don't see the blanket, Terry. Yes, I need
Do you guys hear the windshield wipers? Car? I mean, this is exactly what Gary Roberts and Jen McCabe described.
We have the lights on, please. I have no further questions.
Okay, and then we went to lunch. Did you guys all hear that? John, is that you? Earlier, the 5:32 mark. I'm sorry, the 5:23 mark. Excuse me. Moving around my numbers. Pretty damning. What it means, I don't know. I'm curious to see how they're going to add it to the timeline. Also, we heard from the police officer, Ray, who did the check on Karen Reed. Let me just show you. Can also show you actual video of him going all the way from the Sally Port, his Sally Port where he kept his car, all the way to make a welfare check on John O'Keefe's niece and nephew. And he arrives at 8:22 a.m. And here's Karen Reed. Her car is exactly in the same condition it is. Does everybody see that in the Sally Port? Just as it was. So that the bottom is the 8:20. I think it's 8:23. They pull in at 8:22, 8:23. There's Karen Reed's car. The left side is all red. And there's that missing pieces, or smashed to smithereens tail light on the corner there where she clipped him. And you can see it better in the Sallyport video. You have two red pieces on the left side, two white pieces on the right side where it's missing. And then they found her pieces of her taillight by the flagpole. All very damning day for Karen. I was not surprised when I heard that she had nothing to say to the press. What can she say? Voicemail is lying. I mean, Harvard Yard. Thank you. Very generous. Thank you, Roberta. Bringing light to IPV, interpersonal violence, may have helped a needed soul today. By the way, Trial and your show tonight. Help is available. You rock. Big love. Best chat on YouTube. I think so too. Like, sub, coffee, Venn, and Patreon. I do not work for Roberta. Grateful supporter. Thank you. I need you to work for me because I'm not very good at self-promotion. Trying to get a little bit better at it. Ash, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I got to do something soon with my members. I don't know how to do it. I don't know if you guys have ideas. I don't know. Should maybe Friday nights be membership nights? I don't know. Members night. So the wrap up on Fridays, maybe? I don't know. If you have ideas, let me know. If there's something you particularly like to see me do, or doing like a smaller thing just for the channel members. I'd love to do something, especially this month. So that's what I have for you guys today. I think that sums it up. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. I appreciate it, Dark Matter. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the morning. I usually show up a little before 9. Hey, Allison. And we can watch tomorrow's trial. I just have a feeling, I hear from more and more people that they've heard about Karen Reed's team melting down, fighting, not doing well. Certainly her not wanting to talk to the press is strategic. There's nothing. What are you going to say? Don't believe your lying ears and eyes? I mean, that's basically what they've been saying all case. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. A little before then. We'll watch the trial together. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching with me.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. Yeah. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim.